Robert, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Alex, and yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I had a pretty productive day, so I'm looking forward to having this conversation with you.
Yeah, same here. A little tired. I have a 6-month-old at home now.
Oh, shoot, really?
Yeah, so, she's a very good baby, but at the same time, it's like nonstop 24/7.
Yeah, I can imagine that 6 month old, sometimes they don't sleep through the night. Or is your baby already sleeping through the night?
Yeah,
or-
luckily, she's teething right now, but she sleeps about 10 to 12 hours a night right now, which we're very lucky.
Wow, that's a
Yeah.
good baby.
Yeah, no, we're very grateful, that's for sure.
That's very cool. 6 month old, yeah. Man, it's been a long time since I had a 6 month old baby. My baby's old now.
Yeah, I know. Someone came into my office recently, and they're like, "Hey, you look tired." I'm like, "Yeah, I have a 6-month-old," and he's like, "You just have one?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I had triplets."
Oh, shit.
And I was like, "Bless
Damn.
you," because there's no way that'd be way too hard.
Yeah, triplets. It's I mean, one is busy, two is like handfuls, but triplets. Well, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, no, I have.
No sleeping anytime.
That is no sleeping at time. I don't know how parents even function,
Yeah.
especially single parents that are going through that. And I could not imagine. It's a very tough job, but I'm definitely thankful for my wife. She's a great mother and does a lot. So,
Yeah. So I'm taking this is your first baby that you guys
yes.
have, it right?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
pretty cool.
First baby.
Yeah, it's quite of an adjustment. Have you been married for a while?
No, I got married in 2023 and also she
Oh,
was
wow.
born late 2023.
Oh, wow, that's
Yeah.
really nice.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, it's quite an adjustment going from being single to being married. That's one adjustment.
yes.
And then when you have a baby,
Yes.
holy crap! And that's something you can't explain really, because people would ask me, well, "How does it feel to be a dad?" And something like that. I can't tell you.
Yeah.
I know what it feels like. It's like, but I don't know. I guess the best way I could explain it is, it's the first time in your life that you're not the center of the universe, and you have to worry about somebody else that's
Absolutely.
way more important than whatever you think you were. Your self-worth was.
No, absolutely. Everything revolves around your child after that point. Like I tell everyone, you no longer exist. It's
Right.
it's your kid. It's no longer, just
And you
just
got to keep this fragile thing alive and make sure it doesn't get sick. And it's like
Yep.
every time it makes a little beep, you got to, oh, is it okay? Is it okay? Oh.
No, I know. The first 2 weeks are absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
After that, it gets a little bit better. And my main question, and I can ask you this, which
Sure.
I think Alex is now older.
Yeah.
He's your son, right?
Yes.
And I ask everybody, does it get easier as they get older?
It doesn't get easier, but it gets different.
Okay.
So the things to worry about with your child, totally different. It's like you go from a really fragile infant that you don't want to get hurt, and you want to make sure they have 10 toes, 10 fingers. You make sure their ears are nice. Everything has to be nice on the baby, right? You want it to be a perfect baby. When they get older, they start walking then you have to worry about them getting hurt, falling down and stuff like that. Then you have to worry about their attitudes, because then they get to the 3s, to the 4s, to the 5s.
Terrible twos.
Yeah, terrible 2s, 3s, 4s. And then after that, you have to worry about, kind of steering them in the right direction, getting them the values staged in. And then you have to worry about them getting the correct friends when they turn into their teens.
Right.
And then
Very important.
they start their career. So it never stops.
Right.
It never stops. And what I noticed is every time that I see my mom, she's 98 years old. She's still
wow.
alive. Very coherent, too.
Oh, great.
I'm actually going to interview her hopefully this weekend. I hope
Nice.
she's available. But anyway, as I was saying, every time that I see her, she treats me like a little baby. Have you eaten already? Fix your shirt. Make sure your shoes are clean. So
do you think that's more cultural, or is that? Do you think parents is in general?
Well, it might be cultural, but I think I don't know. I think your dad probably worries about you.
Absolutely.
I mean, he tells you to wear this, do that.
Yeah.
So
Don't be out late.
Yeah,
don't drive fast.
parents always worry about their children, no matter how old the parent is, and no matter how the child is. So
Yeah.
you're always going to be a parent until you're 6 feet underground and you're not a parent anymore.
Yeah, that is true. I'm learning I have a long ways to go. But what you said earlier, as far as the amount of change in having a child,
Yes.
not being a center of attention, not worrying about just yourself, is a lot going from, single, even though I was with my wife prior, to that for a couple of years, and then being married and also having a child all in the same year.
Yeah,
It's a
that's a
lot
big
of
change.
change.
It's a big change.
In 1 year. So,
But it's a good change though, because it
Yes.
kind of gives you a sense of, okay, now I really have to do something for my future because now I have people that depend on me.
exactly.
So it puts another gear in your motor and a little bit
Exactly.
motivation to do the next thing you need to do.
To do better, because
Yeah.
you have people relying on you now, and you want to provide for them and make them happy, and but it's a great experience. It really is.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you want to have a beer?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Are these the same beers that I had when I went to visit you and your dad at your...
These are. So they actually just recently changed them from bottles to cans.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not really sure why. Maybe eco-friendly and cheaper, but yeah, these are the same ones. These are Allagash. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Curex.
Sounds good enough for me. They're actually really good, and they're creamy, and they derive from... They put them in whiskey barrels? Is that what they do?
Bourbon barrels.
Bourbon barrels.
Yeah.
They have a really good taste, and they hit you pretty good. I remember last time I drank one.
Yeah, everyone. I mean, you drink your normal, beers that are 4%, etc., and you drink so much, either you get bloated or you have to pee, or anything like that. With these, you don't have to use the restroom nearly as often, and it's like drinking 3 or 4 of them, at the same time. But they actually got, I believe, a little bit larger as far as the ounce size as well, which is kind of dangerous.
Well, you only drink one, and that's all you need. Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool. Yeah, especially if you drink light beers. I mean, this is quite a change. But you know what? A lot of the heavier beers, if you drink light beers and you drink the heavier beers, they kind of give you like a really strong tingent taste to it. This one's actually kind of creamy, and it's really good.
Yeah, of course, in the last, 10 years or so, a lot of the microbreweries popped up.
Yeah.
So I've been to a lot of them. I actually really enjoy the stouts, like on nitrous or nitro stouts.
Uh-huh.
But this is nothing like that. This is definitely my favorite beer as of right now.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But as far as you, I mean, you have a lot of alcohol up here. So is your choice beverage alcohol, or do you prefer, hard alcohol or over beer?
It depends on the guest. I try to mimic my guests. If they're beer drinkers, I'll drink a beer with them. I don't want to...
A preference for you?
Yeah.
Normally.
Preference for me... there really is no preference. It's like I'm a very social drinker, so I won't drink by myself.
Okay.
So it's not like I go get a shot of whiskey or a shot of tequila, but I enjoy it all, and I enjoy having company and drinking with company. That's really what I really look up to.
Yes.
And I really enjoy, and the conversation, and when you feel a little buzzy, it gets a little interesting sometimes. So it's always good.
It flows a little bit better.
Yeah, a little bit. Oh, and
Liquid courage.
and especially in your brain, that's a little foggy.
Yeah, you think you're doing great. Everyone's looking at you like, oh, you're crazy.
Time to cut them off. That's funny.
It is.
Yeah, but that's pretty cool. Yeah, so you've been doing real estate for a while?
Yeah, so basically I was in high school, and I was in the AVID program, which was new to Oxnard High School, and it basically helps you get prepared to go into college. I got kicked out of that program.
What's the AVID program? In a nutshell, like
basically, it just prepares you. If your parents have been to college, you get set in this program, and they prepare you for college. Essentially, they teach you a little bit different. Your note taking is a little bit different.
Oh, so they give you like skills to learn how to take notes, how to study, how to focus on certain things.
Correct, and then all of the teachers were also that were in the AVID program were also AVID teachers, so they all kind of taught the note style, were all similar and all of that. But I think when I was graduating, it was the first time. We're the first AVID class.
Oh, wow.
So it's probably an experiment.
Yeah, because I don't remember that course being available to me. I could have probably used it because I don't know about you, but before they showed you how to do all that, it was really hard for me to focus on studying and for a test or for I didn't have structure on how to get information out of a book into my brain to the paper so that I would learn it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also probably part of the problem too is in high school you're forced to go, right? You're forced to go and forced to learn these subjects, and you have to take certain classes in order to graduate. So for me, I did not like school, but I realized later on in life I do enjoy learning.
Yeah.
I just wasn't enjoying what I wasn't enjoying what I was being taught in school. I mean, for chemistry, like I knew that you and I are not, probably not going to use that. I'm not going to become a doctor or a physicist or anything mathematical. I mean, real estate, you have to use basic math, but you can always use your calculator. It's not, not a big deal. So yeah, I was essentially, I think in my last year and then kicked out of Avid. Mm-hmm. And then my dad gave me 3 options, and it was go to work at In-N-Out.
Okay.
Go to college.
Okay.
And I was like, no. Or go work for him. So right after I graduated, the weekend after, that Monday, I received my books to study, to take the course. And then so studied. Went shortly after that, I think about a 4 or 6 months process. And then went to go take the state exam.
For your
real estate license.
Real estate license. Wow, that's pretty cool.
And back then, it was a lot easier. Back then, it was pen and paper.
Yeah.
So the DRE, Department of Real Estate, only had probably 8 iterations of the test. So if you studied, I think it's 150 questions, around 1,000 questions and answers, because pen and paper, right? Chances are all of those questions and answers are going to be on there, because the schools, they're not, stupid. They're going to be like, hey, you go memorize number 56 and 57 after your test, come back and report to me,
right?
Kind of like deal. So that way they had all of the questions and answers. So I was 18 years old, went to go take the test, and I'm standing in line, and it's in a government building, so you have to walk through metal detectors, and you're in downtown LA. And as an 18-year-old kid, like I was like, whoa, this is a shock, and all these people are so much older than me, 25, 30, 35, and so on. And I'm in line, and the people next to me are like, this is my second or third time taking this. As an 18-year-old, I'm like, whoa.
So you were you thinking of maybe In-N-Out doesn't look so bad, or maybe I could go to college or something like that?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So,
so then when you actually sat down and took the test, was it like they give you like a little pamphlet with A, B, C, D answers, or was it like a fill in the question? Do you remember?
No, it was A, B, C, D, and you have to pass the, I guess, before you can get to the state exam, you have to go through all the qualifying, take like I don't know if they're not practice tests, but you basically have to take these courses, and that allows you to take the state test. Well, before you go in for your state test, it's always a good idea to do a crash course.
Oh, okay.
So you sign up to do a crash course, and then you go and they kind of fly through all of the material. But if you don't know the material, then you'll be sitting there like, what is this? But as I'm taking the test, right, there's proctors walking up and down. There's probably 100 people at the time.
Oh, wow.
Big room, pen and paper. And I'm flying through this thing, like flying through it. And I remember I glanced over, and I'm on like 120. The person next to me is on 35.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, either I am going to bomb this thing, or I'm going to, pass it. So at the end, I went to go take up, pen or my pencil and paper and turn everything in. Did
the instructor tell you, what are you doing here? Go finish it.
No, I was done.
No, but I'm saying, he was like, it's too fast. Go back and finish it.
So then I handed it in, and another gentleman behind me also was done. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, going through my mind, thinking, like, did I fail this thing? Or, like, was this really easy? Or, what was the deal? Especially because everybody in line was like, well, this is my second and third time taking it, right? We get in the elevator, and this guy goes, hey, that was pretty easy, huh? And I go, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
So I ended up passing it. And but a couple of years after that, you're able to take your broker's exam.
Yeah.
And that one was completely different. That one was not nearly the same. That was 200 questions, but it was electronic. So they take questions out of this bank of like 10,000 questions. So there's absolutely no way you can know the questions and answers. You actually have to know the material on the test.
Yeah. Was it like to be a broker? It was a lot about more math and law that was involved in that one.
What? Surprisingly, there is absolutely no math on the test.
Really?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
basically
Surprised me.
teaches. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It basically teaches you how to stay out of prison.
That's funny.
At the end
So
of the day,
it's more law.
Yeah, I mean,
It's funny you say that because when I took my my test to pass the state for my contractor's license,
okay,
I was getting all ready to go in because I do garage doors.
Right.
And I was like, I know how to do a garage door. Not one question about installing a freaking garage door.
no, I know it's absolutely
Everything
amazing.
was law, procedures, and what's the percentages you can charge and your materials. So it's a lot of legal stuff, but not really nothing to do with the trade. I can imagine the broker was similar to that. That's what it sounds like, but I'm surprised it didn't have any math in it.
Yeah, I did not have any math. So, no question about yours as far as charging and stuff like that. You have a maximum you're allowed to charge for materials.
Well, they give you like this is what we recommend that you do. So they give us a recommendation, and if there's any disputes with people saying, "Oh, this company overcharged me,"
Right.
and if they do an audit on your company, then they can go back and say you have to reimburse this customer back.
So you're talking about gouging somebody, basically.
Yeah. So,
okay. So I mean, if you're higher than the people around you, but you're not gouging, I guess you're fine.
Yeah,
Because you're doing quality work, right? So it kind of makes sense that you're able to charge more if you do a better job.
Well, the market kind of dictates your pricing anyway, because if you go too high, nobody's going to buy from you. They'll say, "We'll go to the next guy."
Yeah, I mean, I've been, our company's been using you for a while, and as we're talking here, I think you have my garage doors in the back of your truck right now that you're going to go install. Yeah, I saw a couple of sets and I was like, I think those are mine.
I think they are.
So, you are Johnny on the spot, though. I don't think you sleep. You call you at 7:00 at night, like I'll be there.
Yeah, it's you try to differentiate yourself from other companies. So you put on a big footprint so people think that you're a giant company, but you give the customer service of a small company where your customers are important.
Absolutely.
So if I have the luxury of having my son work for me too. So if I get a call like at 7, like you said, or 8:00 or 9, 10:00, then he gets to get up early the next day and do the first couple of jobs. So we can take turns like that.
Okay, so now do you take turns? You're at the point now where you're like, hey man, I'm older. It's now you're getting the 7:00 at night or 6 a.m. calls.
Yeah, well, I used to be able to do that, but now I think my son's getting a little smarter, so I don't get away with it no more. But it works out great. I mean, it's making me, I have somebody that I can depend on, my son.
Yes.
And hopefully my son is getting the knowledge that I have to make it work. So that's something that works out. Like you and your dad.
Yeah.
You guys can, you as a team work a lot better than just a single realtor by himself.
Yeah, exactly. Both of you have strengths, or either one of you has strengths than the other one, so you know how weaknesses. So now, as far as your son goes, when he started working for you, did he tell you, or I'm guessing he went with you to how many jobs would you say, or how many years before he actually grasped, how to install and how to quote, if he even does, quoting for garage doors?
Yeah, well, it's a learning thing. He doesn't have 100% of the business acumen yet, but as far as the installation and the service and the sales, he's got that 100%.
Yeah.
He goes out and bids a job, gets it done and stuff. He doesn't know the intricacies of controlling inventory or ordering parts and stuff like that yet. So he's learning that. When he started, he rode with me for a couple of years, learning how to get your hands on the tools and using them. Mm-hmm. But he's been doing pretty good. Yeah. And so you pick it up a little bit. He has the benefit that I'm not rushing him. I'm not pushing him out there too hard. So he's learning at his own pace, which I think helps.
Was also from the best teacher possible,
well,
right?
I hope so.
You've been doing it for years, so you can teach him, the right and wrong way. Yeah. So give him the benefit of cutting down on learning. Yeah. Because people that don't have a mentor, that don't teach them how to do certain things, they will lag behind. They'll take much longer to learn how these things, operate, and also too, the other side of it is how to speak to people as well.
Right.
That's like a big portion of your business, right? Because if you go in there with a bad attitude, or you're very short, or you're not, friendly with the with people, then that can not help you. That'd be detriment to your actual company.
Yeah, and I think you're very good at speaking. Your dad's good at speaking too. So when you portray confidence to your customers, then you can see it right away. You start talking to them, and their shoulders, kind of go down and say, and then relax.
Mm-hmm.
When you get there, sometimes they're a little tense because their door's broken,
Right.
or like with you, they're tense because you're talking to them about to sell their house or managing their properties.
Correct.
As soon as they hear you start talking that you know your stuff, it kind of relaxes them and says, okay, I can trust this guy and I can get the job done.
Yeah, it was very difficult starting out for me at 18.
Yeah.
Now, my dad would call me the gopher. He would send me to go run around. He'd make me do the phone calls, right? Because obviously you have many different portions just like you, but we have also contract writing and laws and other items. So I remember the first 2 years in the business, I would be like shaking in my boots, right? Calling, another agent or whoever I needed to call because you gain the confidence, I think, partially based on your knowledge of what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Right. So, I mean, last thing you want to do is be calling somebody, they know more than you do.
Right.
And you get caught off guard. Well, so that was difficult, to learn. But now I'm at the point where I definitely don't know everything. Sometimes you run into certain things, I'm sure, doing, garage doors that you kind of learn as you go, or as a new law or whatever the case may be. But you have a very good understanding of how it operates. And also, so you're able to speak a little bit better.
Yeah. And like I said, and that's the benefit of working with your dad, like yourself, and like Alex with his dad. I know it's kind of hard to take the dad hat off and, be the mentor, the patient guy. And sometimes we lose it, our kids.
With my daddy is extremely patient with me, never really told me what to do. He kind of just taught me how to do it. And then I'd go in the other conference room and make the call. And as you make so many phone calls, you naturally get better.
Well, I try to be as patient as possible too, but once in a while.
So now does your son start to push back because he's like, oh, Dad, I know what I'm doing now. So
absolutely. Which is, I appreciate that because, sometimes I learn from him too. I might be telling him to do it this way, blah, blah, blah. And before, and I just leave him alone now. I just give him the job and go take care of it. But before, when I was training him, I would tell him this is the way to do it. And then when he got a little bit more comfortable, he actually found do it a little bit different, which still worked and was a little bit more efficient. So I kind of learned from him too.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure your dad learns from you too. I mean, you do the research for one job that you go sell or one client that you're dealing with, and you learn about a new law or about a new thing that you have to look at, and you can tell your dad, and your dad's like, oh, cool, now I know.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of laws are constantly changing, especially in property management and stuff like that. Even with real estate as well, especially during COVID, they have all these PEDs, which is like a property entry form. You had to get it signed. It was a complete nightmare. Any property you had to go, you went to, you had to sign a PED entry form.
What the hell's a PED entry form?
It's
sounds
CAR.
Sounds like a San Francisco thing.
It's basically an entry form saying that you don't have COVID and you're entering at your own risk, essentially. That COVID is out there, that you possibly could have gotten sick, et cetera, et cetera. So any property you would go show your client and also your own listings, you would have to have this form signed for every, if you want to go show 10 property in one day, you had to sign 10
Holy
forms.
Crap. I thought I had it bad because, I had to sign, I deal with management companies, similar to yours.
Yes.
But some of them a little bit bigger where they're managed in another state or something. And I had to sign all kinds of forms releasing, that we're going to show up with gloves, we're going to show up with, face coverings and all that stuff. And it's like, oh, this is ridiculous. I mean, we're going to do it. Why do we have to fill these 10 forms and then submit them online and then sign them again every freaking week, every 2 weeks?
Right.
It was a nightmare.
Yeah. No, I know. It's, for a while there, when it first went down, I wasn't really doing property management. We had a property manager at the time, but, she had to, any maintenance that was happening. Of course, we're open because we have to clean the sanitary properties. If you have a plumbing leak or anything like that, it has to be fixed, right? So, constantly sending out these PEDs and having the plumber sign them. I call them PEDs, but they're the entry forms.
Yeah.
Is not fun. But luckily, we're at a point now where it's just like back to normal.
Yeah. Most of my customers are back to normal. Once in a while, you get,
of course,
that one that's really scared about what's going on, and they want to be super, super cautious.
Yes.
You just take care of them with gloves. We still carry gloves in our trucks in case we get asked. Yeah, we can put them on. We put them on. It's not a big deal.
I mean, you're working on the garage door. It's not like you're going inside their house, touching their faucet.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, it's kind of like,
yeah, but some people they want to see you get off your truck with your coverings still. And not very often. I'm not saying that half of them are. I'm saying maybe every 4 or 5 months you get one person that asks you, please use this, and that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that we always ask our clients, "Are you okay?" And they say yes or no, but majority of them at this point are, but at the same time, you don't want to walk in somewhere being sick either, right? Because you're making their problem worse. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I kind of get their end a little bit, but I think for the most part, it's kind of died down.
I think so. Everywhere you go, it looks pretty normal. Everybody's pretty back to doing what they normally do, which is nice. I think I kind of like that. When this COVID thing started and they started changing the way that we run our businesses and stuff, it affected us a lot in the inventory part, where I wasn't able to get inventory to accommodate my customers, either through the new constructions of garage doors, full systems, and down to the rollers that we couldn't get or the hinges that we couldn't get. So it affected us a lot.
Right.
How did this COVID thing affect your business?
See, on our side, it's a lot of paperwork and stuff like that. So we're not actually ordering parts and all of that good stuff. As far as
did any of the laws change as far as
Oh yeah, I mean, as far as the rentals go, the property management side, State of California and federally, they also made it so the tenants didn't have to pay rent if they can prove that they were in a hardship, and the hardship could have been, school's not in session, so I'm taking care of my child.
Wow,
simple as that. And then there was, the state and I believe also federal government was also paying the backed rent, which, saw a couple times. I'm like, this a little, I think these people can pay their rent, but, they're claiming that they can't, but I guess it is what it is. They're the one filling it out and submitting it. And
there's always people that, take advantage because they really need it. And there's people that take advantage because they see the opportunity.
Yes.
But, what can you do?
Yeah.
Did they put the burden on the renter to get that money to pay you, or did they put the burden on you to submit the paperwork so you can collect from the renter?
So it was actually both. The renter would apply, and then from there, I believe, I forgot what it was called, but it was a website, and they uploaded the information there, and then you had to upload a tenant ledger that stated, they missed X, Y, and Z months. This is the amount that's owed, and these are for, whatever it is. Uh-huh. And then in the backside, they would approve it, or not approve it. But I heard, it didn't happen to us, but I heard that if the landlord never responds, that the tenant would receive the money.
Oh, wow.
And then, I mean, if they're not paying rent and they receive the money, they can literally just walk and they're up, thousands and thousands of dollars.
So you really, as a manager, you really have to stay on top of that.
Yeah, luckily
you can't be disorganized because you're going to lose out.
Yeah, exactly. Luckily for us, it was a very, very small percentage. Yeah. As COVID went on, everyone started becoming, what do they call it? It was essential. You were an essential employee. So, slowly as COVID went on, so then everyone kind of got back to work.
Yeah.
But I think we're lucky for us that it was a very small percentage. I could not imagine a large portfolio of 10 plus is not fun. So, and then we couldn't charge certain things because, it was just, it was difficult. A lot of paperwork and all of that good stuff, but kind of got through it.
Yeah, that's cool. And now most of those regulations and stuff is back to normal, or is there still something pending with some of the rulings that they had?
I mean, as far as the COVID payment for tenants, I believe that is stopped.
Okay.
In Ventura County. I think LA County LA County or LA City that extended it. And I believe it just expired maybe not too long ago.
Oh, wow.
But they had years of it. I mean, and you can be a landlord and just be, owner of a property, and you can just be out of money. Thousands of dollars each month, and you can't evict them. You can't do anything. You're just got to pay your bills. Now, of course, some of the mortgage companies had forbearance. They would allow you to stop paying and add it onto the back of the loan. But it depends also on, who was servicing your loan. They all did it, a little bit
Depends on the
differently.
bank.
Yeah. Mainly, the mortgage companies have a servicer, and the servicer is the one who collects money and deals with the person who is paying the mortgage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does your business focus more on selling homes, or does it focus more on managing rental properties? I know you do both.
Yeah.
But what is like your main?
More so managing.
Okay.
Recently, we still do sales. We have a couple that are for sale right now, but cool. As far as it's focusing more on management, and it's actually really interesting, as we know in the past couple of years, interest rates dropped down. So a lot of people refinance. They got 2-3%.
Yeah.
And this phenomenon now is if you want to move or get into a larger house or move out of state, it's called the golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
To where you're going from a 2% to 7%. And it doesn't make sense to sell it. So it's called the golden handcuffs, where you're locked. You can't really make the move, but it's great because you got 2% mortgage, your payment's $2,000 compared to $4,500 if you were to buy the same thing. And I'm using random numbers here, but that's kind of the point of the golden handcuffs. So I think a lot of people now are going to become new landlords. And they are going to be renting out the property even if they have to move. Yeah,
well, it doesn't make any sense if you have a mortgage that's, you owe $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 on your home, but it's at a 2-3%. Why would you sell it?
Yeah, no, I mean,
it doesn't make any sense.
Some people are forced to sell, right? You have people that are forced to sell. They have to move, or somebody passed away, or you lost your job, whatever the case is. So there are people that are forced to move, but majority of the people are staying home because they're keeping that property because it is a 2, 3, 4% mortgage, and they can't move up or move down.
Yeah,
it literally does not make any sense. So and that's affecting the overall inventory levels.
Yeah.
We have less inventory, supply and demand, right? Less inventory, higher prices. The issue is what is going to fix or what is going to enable all the inventory? And generally in a normal housing market, right, when you don't have the 2-3% lock-ins, and everyone's at like a 5%, and you go up to like 8 or 9, then you can see more inventory come on the market, unemployment goes up, et cetera. Over time, they're restricting the monetary supply. So, but right now, like we were just saying, why would you move? It doesn't make any sense unless you absolutely have to. So that's why we're having such low inventory, and prices still continue to climb even at 7%.
Yeah, the only way I see people making the move to move is maybe to downsize, where you've paid off your house and you do the transaction in cash. You sell your house to buy the smaller house and pay cash for it. Because I imagine the rate of increase on the houses is not as fast as it was before.
Yeah, the issue now though is even if you were to downsize, right, you have your property taxes. Your property taxes are based off of when you purchased the property.
I didn't think about that.
And then it slowly increases. They have calculation. It's Prop 13, and then they also do another calculation. They you get a raise in your property taxes every year. Yeah. So if you bought your property 40 years ago, and it's based off of random numbers, $100,000. But even if you were to downsize now, I mean, you can't find anything in Ventura County that's a single-story house, right, for less than 7.
Yeah.
So you went from property taxes on 100 to 7.
So now your property taxes are freaking high.
And on top of that, I don't know if you're aware, but insurance for properties is not good right now.
Especially in California, a lot of the insurance companies are bailing.
I got a lot of non-renewals for properties. Yeah. The insurance companies are sending out any and everything. If an aerial photo of the property, any kind of trees over the roof line, they're like, hey, unless you get this fixed, we're not going to renew you.
Is that a California thing, or is that a national thing?
That's a California thing. I talked to my broker. I'm not too well versed on why it's happening, but I believe that the insurance companies are not allowed to increase the premiums past a certain percentage every year.
And with inflation and the price of everything going up, if they can't increase it, then they're losing money.
Yeah, why continue? And on top of that, insurances basically go into arrears. So they go off of the previous year's cost of material. So that's the reason why, even though now inflation has gone down overall, that the cost of materials, was from 2 years ago, even though you're getting your renewal now,
Yeah.
but it's going to be higher because it's going off of the previous year's cost to basically rebuild your property.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've had a couple of clients that, properties changed hands, people inherit property.
Yeah.
And, they were paying $900 a year in insurance, property insurance, and it jumped to $5,000.
Oh, damn. That's a 500% increase, 600% increase.
And the issue right now is if the insurance companies all pull out, you're left with the California Fair Plan.
Which is...
And it's not fair.
Yeah, I can imagine it's not fair.
It's not fair. Let me tell you that much. It
Wow.
is extremely expensive. And you have to have a companion policy because it doesn't cover certain things inside your house. So you're paying essentially for two policies.
And then if your house is mortgaged in a bank, you mandatorily have to have
Correct.
insurance with it.
Yeah, correct. I mean, the only way you can get around the higher premiums is you up your deductible.
Wow.
Right. And it's now, I mean, unless you have extensive water damage,
Yeah.
or major damage, that's kind of when you want to report something. But if you have something small, right, like your vanity got messed up,
Yeah.
you're better off most likely.
Just
obviously
redo it.
seek and talk to a professional before you go ahead and do this. But you're probably better off going ahead and paying out of pocket.
Wow.
Because when you report that to the insurance company, they keep that on file. So even if a couple of years from now you go to change, they're going to pull up and they're going to say, oh, you made this claim.
So then your premium is going to go up even higher, or
Correct.
they might even drop you at that point.
Yes, yeah, and that's happening a lot right now. I've gotten a few properties where it's like I said, these trees are hanging over something so simple.
Yeah.
And they
It
want to
sounds like they're
cancel
looking for an excuse to cancel you.
you. Yeah.
Because they're probably say if something happens to this property, we're not going to be able to cover the expenses on
Yeah,
it.
a lot of them are pulling out right now. So I hope at some point they can come to some type of an agreement, right? It's kind of one of those things where if you have more competition in a market, it drives down the price.
Yeah.
Right. But if you only have 2 or 3 options, and one of them being the California Fair Plan, all the insurance companies start charging more. But if you have 20,
Yeah.
then the price, should go down.
Yeah, but if the regulations in California are not allowing you to come in with a fair price, even though it's more, and competition helps you bring it to where it needs to be, then people are not even going to shop it.
Correct.
People are not even going to say, "Oh, let's do business in California." They'll say, let's go to other states that are not having all these strict laws to prevent us from doing business there.
Absolutely. It's a catch-22 where California is trying to keep the cost down, but at the same time, it essentially is going to make the price go up because there is nothing to be able to obtain any type of insurance. There's no companies, and as far as my broker says, there's a couple right now that are still writing policies. And of course, it depends on if you have a condo, townhouse, single family, if it's owner occupied, if you live in the state, if you don't live in the state, and you own rental property in California, the premiums are going up.
So insurance companies are really very meticulous as to who they're giving their policies to.
Yeah, especially right now. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of them that just won't even write policies, and even car insurance too. If you go to try to get new car insurance, the same thing. It's extremely hard and very expensive.
But it's everything in like I said, I'm not sure if it's the whole United States or if it's just California, but everything's getting more and more expensive. Price of gasoline, price of groceries, price of insurance, running a business, materials.
Yeah.
Everything is way more expensive than before, and it's like I don't know how people do it. I mean,
it's tough. Like I was saying before, I have a newborn and 6-month-old, and childcare is extremely expensive.
That's another expense that went up too.
So I mean, I think it's across the board, but California especially, it's gone up there, and then I continue to see these prices continue to go up and up and up, and I'm just like, wow, like when does this end, or how does it end?
Yeah, I had a conversation with Ricardo Villa. He's one of my Spanish podcasts that I do.
Okay.
And he runs a little catering truck that's wonderful food. You should try it.
Okay.
It's I'll let you know where he parks so you can stop and get some lunch. But I was talking to him about the people, customers going in and paying, and he was saying that his credit card sales are in the 80 to 90% of his totals, which is, he says, that's high for credit card sales. And I noticed it too, because normally on say 2-3 years ago, my credit card sales for the month was probably like in the 20 to 25%. So out of 4 people, 1 person would pay with credit card. This last 2 months that I've done my payroll and all that stuff with my expenses and my expenditures, I noticed that that percentage jumped up to like 60%. So that's a big jump. And that's people, buying the products that I sell, but paying with a credit card.
Right.
So I think people are running out of money.
Do you think so, or do you think it's ease of not carrying the cash or writing out the check if the check gets lost? Right, you have to call your bank, charge you $15 to cancel the check. All of that. So is it easier for them just to give you a credit card?
I would say you have some validity there, but the convenience has been the same for the last 3-4 years, and I've seen the change in the last 2 months. And from a jump, if you say from a jump from 25% to 30%, people convenient. They don't like the cash, they don't like the checks. They just want to do the credit card and get over with.
Right.
But when you jump to 60-65%, I think that's a sign of not having the liquidity in their accounts to pay you with a check.
So you went from 25 to 65? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a big
jump.
change.
Yeah, that's a large jump.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it affects my customers. They still need my services, but I see that they're having trouble paying it with the normal way they used to pay before.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that goes into play with the higher interest rates, right? They're trying to slow down the economy, and it takes time.
And that's another reason why not to pay with a credit card, because now your credit card's charging you 21% on a purchase.
Yeah, I mean,
unless you pay it at the end of the month.
Yeah, unless you're paying it off, but I mean. Majority. I mean, I think I read somewhere online where the credit card delinquencies and also the amount that people are spending on their cards is rising.
Yeah.
So I think you have a point there. See, I don't see that in my job. Through our software, it does allow through a credit card payment, but I think I'm out like maybe 2 or 3% of people who do it.
Yeah.
The rest of them is, with a cashier's check or something like that.
With your business that you manage properties, are you in charge of collecting rent and depositing it into the?
Yeah, correct. So I collect, distribute, and then I prepare all the tax documents, send them out. I do the contract, show the property.
So you would know if people are starting paying with their credit card to pay the rent, and you haven't seen an increase on that?
No, I mean maybe a 1 to 2%.
Well, that's a good sign.
But nothing that is. The people who have been paying with their credit card have always paid with their credit card. Majority of them. The other ones are the 1 or 2% where they were paying. It's you would call it an e-check, which is electronic transfer, or like an ACH. But yeah, I mean, there's like 1 or 2% increase people who are paying with the credit card.
Well, that's a good sign. That makes you feel a little bit better.
I mean,
I won't get as paranoid.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Maybe I need to throw this in there that the software charges, I don't make it, but the software charges, I think it's per 1,000. I think it's like $15.
Oh, wow.
Or $25.
So that's like another $100 that they have to pay if they use their credit card.
Yeah,
so exactly. That's a little bit of a deterrent.
Yeah. So, exactly, it's a deterrent for them not to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the credit card processing takes a long time for it to clear the account as well.
Right.
Rather than the e-check is a lot quicker.
But you get the funds transferred, 1 or 2 days with the e-check, and then with the credit card, it could take up to 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, with us, it's definitely solid 7 business days.
7 business days.
Yeah, before it'll clear.
Yeah.
But luckily, majority of my clients, they're fine, with it. It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they paid their rent. It's going to clear eventually, but yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Have you had any issues with evictions? Like when you have to evict somebody, do they have more protection now than they did, say, a year ago, 2 years ago? As far as getting them out of the property, or if you follow procedure on how to get them out, it's pretty much the same as before?
Oh, no, it's extremely hard now. It is extremely hard to evict somebody. And
was that after COVID?
Yeah, after COVID. I believe started in LA, where they also talked about doing the amount that you're able to increase the rent. There's a cap on it. So it started with the properties that are 2 doors or more, and of course there's qualifying and disqualifying, factors in that. But let's just say you own a duplex, triplex, fourplex, whatever the case may be, instead of California, you can raise the rent 5% plus CPI max per year. With a single family right now, where we live, majority of all the cities, you can raise it, whatever it is. You just need to follow the amount of days that you have to give them notice. So, I mean, you can raise them from $2,000 to $3,500 if you want to. Of course, I mean, same thing. You don't want to be gouging them, but if that is the market price, then you're not really gouging them. You're raising the rent. But I think eventually it'll also come down through single family. So now, as far as evicting tenants and the way that it's perceived is, even though if you give them notice to vacate, it's still considered an eviction. So they call it the same thing, whether it was a tenant's fault, they didn't pay the rent, or you're sending them a notice to vacate. So now for the city of Oxnard and also Ventura, and I think also Port Hueneme, and then Ojai passed it. Camarillo has not passed it as far as I know. And it's very hard to keep up with each city because each city has their own criteria and their own process and, this and that. So, but yeah, it is not easy, and it's also very expensive. I had to do 2 in Ventura, and between the lost rent, of course, could stop paying rent.
Wow.
Right. And the last thing you want really is for them to destroy your property.
Yeah. Especially if they feel like you're pressuring them to get out or talking to them the wrong way or a little harsh.
Yeah. I mean,
you need to get out now. And then like, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you're sending them a notice to vacate, and you can just hope that they're not going to destroy your property, because they can. Can you go after them for the damages? Yes.
Yeah, but how much does it cost you to go get the damages?
That, and then also if they only make a couple $1,000s a month, I believe they only allow you to take a small portion of their check. It takes you about 10 years to receive your money back.
Jesus.
So luckily I haven't had that issue, and most people are fine with it. But yeah, I had 2 in Ventura I had to do, and it was extremely expensive. So
sounds like you have to be a little bit more diligent before you give them the property to make sure you do a nice background investigation as to, I don't know what parameters you use to try to gauge a good tenant or not, but there's probably things that it's in your industry that you guys use.
Yes.
To kind of gauge the tenant, the quality of the person.
Absolutely. And I remember when all of these laws were coming down as far as the cap on the amount you can raise, right? And it's actually pretty sad because we all met in a meeting, and I think the city of Oxnard was there, and something was said. I don't forgot who said it, but a lot of landlords, surprisingly, contrary to what probably everyone believes, is landlords are greedy and this, and this. A lot of them, they have a tenant that lived in there for 10 years, and their rent is low.
Yeah,
it's way lower than market, and they're fine. But now what's happened with the multifamilies is for a city of Oxnard is you're only allowed to raise it 4% a year. So now, how long will it take you if market rent is $3,000, you're at $2,000? You can only raise 4% a year. On top of that, you also have inflation. Yeah. Right. So when you have 4% inflation, 4% increase, you're still zeroing out each month. Yeah. Or I should say each year. But so it's. And it was surprising. Somebody said in the meeting, well, if you want to run your business like a charity, that's your gig. And I was like, whoa. Yeah. It's like this is having the opposite effect of what they're trying to set out to do. So, now my smaller, owners, they're getting an increase now. All the tenants here, they're getting increases because you don't want to fall behind. Right. And with multifamily property, the value is based off of the income. Yeah. So if you're not charging a lot of money, the property value, goes down.
It's a business.
Yeah, of course.
You can have a shiny business that sells widgets, but if it's not making any profit, you're not going to be able to sell it for a good price.
Yeah, I mean, some of these people have owned it, for 30 plus years, so it's paid off. So, they want to, have the income, but also they're not charging market rent. And this forces them to have to do the increase. Yeah. So
is that something that your company does? Has this talk with the people that want to go manage the properties at your house? Like, say, for instance, if I had a house that I wanted you to manage for me, and I said I want to charge $100 of rent a month, and you're like, Alex, we can do that, but that's crazy. That's not market value. Do you talk to them about what they should be charging for rent? Is that something that you guys communicate with?
Yeah, I mean, feel like the information is so much out there now. People go on Zillow, right, and they go on there, and there's a Zestimate along with a rent estimate.
I was going to ask you too. Is Zillow pretty accurate? Because I see some of the stuff
even if you click it, it says how much and how often they are accurate, and it's like they're not.
Okay.
If you live in a standard tract home, right, and you have like 5 sales that are in your neighborhood in the past 6 months, chances are it's probably going to be pretty accurate. Okay. But if you have something, that's an acre, and it's
they haven't sold a house in 5 years around the neighborhood.
Yeah, or nothing is similar, then your estimate could be off by a very large margin.
Oh, okay.
And still too, even if property has been sold recently in that area, sometimes it is still inaccurate. But the rent estimates too, people go on there and they say, oh, it's $3,000, and I'm dealing with this every single day, renting out property every single month. So it's like, yeah, well, the rental market kind of softened up, so it's really not there. I mean, I'll do it at the price that you want, but we'll know in a week or two if that price is too high.
Yeah,
or if
the phone
it's too
hasn't
low.
rang. The phone hasn't rang. Nobody's asking about it.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty cool. Now, back to Zillow or those companies that offer information for houses for rent and for buying.
Yes.
Do they have like a separate program for professionals like you, where you pay a monthly fee and they give you more information, more data? Or is it the same data that everybody can watch on their app?
No, I mean, as far as the information that's provided on there, we get the same information.
Okay.
Through the MLS multiple listing service that we pay for, we get additional information, obviously, because we pay for it, and also you have a real estate license, et cetera. So there's private remarks that the public won't see. And that private remarks can range from anything pertaining about the property condition, when to go, et cetera, where the public doesn't see that. The public just sees, ooh, pretty house on the corner, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Don't miss out. It won't last. Meanwhile, it sits there for like a year on the market,
Yeah.
So
it's lasting. It's lasting a while.
Yeah, exactly. It's always
funny.
the remarks, but so. And I was never a fan. This Zillow thing probably started, I want to say around 2012. And I remember they came all out here that had a Zillow rep.
Yeah.
And they said, if your office signs up, we'll display your listings on Zillow. There'll be no charge. But if you wait, then we'll charge you like $150 for next year. But then we'll display it. But I knew then. I said, me and my dad been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't think this is a good sign. And I'm like, me too. And it's not. They are taking over the entire market. Yeah. And, for some real estate agents, I think for a while there, you can pay money to be, listed on there as the preferred agent or whoever it may be. So Zillow's collecting that money. They're also collecting money on your views and this and that. I think now it's a little bit different. It's a referral, but their guidelines, and I don't know for sure because I don't pay for it and I don't want to or anything like that, but they will claim that client if they gave you that client, I think, for like 2 years. So you owe them a referral fee. Even if you close a deal a year from now, whatever the case is, you still owe them a referral fee.
That's crazy. It just sounds like another pocket that needs to get filled by the sale,
Yeah.
Just something everybody wants a little piece of the pie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Zillow wants a lot of little pieces from the whole nation.
No, exactly. But everybody searches on Zillow. I mean, if you search a house, what are you looking at?
But yeah, Zillow, of course.
There you go. See, so
they have pretty pictures.
Yeah, exactly. No, their formatting of the actual website, the way they present the pictures, the way that everything's lined up, it's very easy to use.
Yeah.
So I get it. I get why people,
it's
use
convenient.
it.
It's convenient. You're thinking about buying or selling your house, and you just want to get a feel for it. You're thinking of moving to another state. You thinking of switching to a different community. It's a good place to start. Personally, myself, I would look on Zillow, look on all those apps that have the listings and stuff with the pictures. But eventually, I would probably drive to where the property's at and then check out the neighborhood and then call the real estate agent that's listed on the cardboard with it.
Yeah, I mean,
Or if I have a good rapport with you, I say, hey, can you give me some information on this listing?
Of course.
And then have you do the legwork.
Yeah, a lot of people, there's a misconception of when you go onto Zillow and you're like, I'm going to tour this house, right?
Yeah.
That tour actually doesn't go to listing agent. That goes to the preferred agent who's paying the money to be on there. right? So they're getting that, but some people think that they're actually getting to listing agent.
Yeah.
And I think recently they changed where the listing agent and company from at the very bottom of the page, because who's going to scroll all the way down to go look at that, to now up higher.
Yeah, it's probably they probably by law have to list the listing agent.
Yes.
But they do it in a way where it's like minimalist, so that chances are people are not going to click on that.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a misconception. So if you want to see it, it says on there at some point, it says listed by, and it'll say the person's name. So if you can get direct contact with that listing agent, you're able to do so.
That's crazy.
Or you call your friend, or call me, or whoever.
Absolutely. Now I don't know much about real estate, and it's not my thing, but I heard that they're changing the structure of how they pay commissions for salespeople. Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, it's all over the news. Nothing is set in stone yet. A lot of people are kind of jumping the gun.
Yeah, because what I heard was that usually for a house that sells, there's like the number 6 pops into my brain. I don't know if that's correct or not, but 6% of the price of the house was supposed to be like commission for the buyer and seller.
For the brokers.
For the brokers.
Yes.
Okay. But now they made it differently where...
So that's the whole thing. It's not really set in stone yet. So basically what could happen, and we don't really know if it's going to happen, this could be a generational thing, right? So to where people are used to paying on both sides, eventually it can be just one side. What's happening is, and I don't fully understand this because all real estate commissions are negotiable.
Oh, they are?
Yes.
I thought it was like set in concrete, 6%.
It says right in the contract. This commission is negotiable. So it can be 3%, it could be 2%, it could be 6%.
It kind of makes sense because if I'm selling a house, like for instance here in California for $650,000, $700,000, yeah, you can pay the 6%, whatever it is. But if I have a $5 million home or a $20 million home, I don't want to give you 6%.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you can also pay a flat fee as well.
Okay.
You don't have to pay a certain percentage. Now, majority of them all are percentages, but what's basically happening is the buyer's broker commission sounds like it's going to go bye-bye. Wow. So if you hire somebody, you're paying the broker who is listing the property. And then you don't have to pay the buyer's broker. So there's a couple ways that you can do that. They can get paid by the buyer themselves, which in majority of the cases is not going to happen because a lot of the transactions are FHA buyers 3.5% down, 5% down, 10% down. So they're coming in, with
they're already stretched out.
Yeah, exactly. They're already stretched out, and chances are they're not going to have an extra $20,000 to give to the buyer's broker.
Right.
And the other way is which we haven't seen yet because like I said, nothing is set in stone. You probably be able to submit with your offer a form, and that goes to the seller, and it says I would be paid this much commission or percentage of the purchase price.
And that usually comes out of the seller's commission?
Yeah.
They would pay you?
It would, yeah. It would. The listing broker would have a total percentage, and then also on the listing agreement, there is a portion that they pay out to the buyer's broker.
Okay.
So, if you got 6%, for example, chances are it's going to be 3% to the listing agent or listing broker, and also 3% to the buyer's broker. But now it could just be 3% for the listing broker and nothing going out for the buyer's broker, and that is negotiable.
I think that's, just something real quick. That sounds like it's a good deal for brokers and real estate agents that are actually good, because then they're going to shine and they're going to be able to collect what they need to collect to stay in business.
Yeah,
and it's going to weed out the bad ones that are not doing their job. Where if they're screwing up or not doing their job, they're not going to get that. They're not going to be able to get helped and make that sale go so they can get their commission.
Yeah, I mean, there's a saying that 20% do 80% of the work and 80% do 20% of the work.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of already is like that. With the people who are really affected, if this actually goes through and everything's signed and there you go, set in stone, then there are a lot of agents out there that are buyer agents. All they like to do is buyer agents, and that's what they like to do. And then now with this passing, if everyone decides I'm not going to pay your the buyer's broker, then that could really affect your income.
Yeah.
Right. So but the listing agent, right? those people will probably succeed,
Okay.
right? Because you have a lot of, if you have a lot of listings, chances are a buyer might call you off that sign or whatever the case is, because there's, that's one avenue that can happen. How it all plays out, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have talked to a couple of clients, and they pay out a commission as of right now, and it's one of those things too where everybody needs to be paid for the job. Whether you think it is too much or too little is up to you, and it's subjective. But as far as no one's going to work for free,
Right.
it's just not going to happen.
Well, you can't survive. You can't pay your bills
Yeah.
if you're doing charity work. Then that means you already have
Correct.
money, and nobody works for free.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
If it
kind of
was-
going to be interesting how this all plays out if it actually goes into effect.
If it does, I think it'll weed out the bad ones. It'll jump on that 80% that are not pushing their weight.
Well, it'll definitely drop down the amount of real estate agents who are part of the board here locally
Yeah.
are already declining, and that's mainly because the volume of sales has declined.
Yeah.
Right, so it's already declining. So now if this goes into effect, it could be another 20, 25%, 30% who do not renew.
It'll just squeeze out the ones that are not pushing
Possibility.
their weight.
That's a possibility.
Wow, that's crazy. That's cool. It's good for the seller, I guess.
So now that's the thing is, I think a lot of people think, since the seller doesn't have to pay, right, or not have to, but they don't have to. Like I said,
you can
everything-
negotiate it.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, if you're going to sell a property, right, like if you're to go to sell your house,
Yeah.
and you were only paying the listing broker and you're not paying the buyer's broker, why would you lower your property? Your list price. If the house right across the street from you sold for $800, why would you go at $780?
Yeah, you wouldn't.
You wouldn't.
But you would get the good real estate agent or the broker that can sell it for 800 or 820 even.
Right, but
he's gonna know the way
my
to do
point
it,
is even though you're not like the idea I think behind it also is that since the seller doesn't have to pay, or again it's negotiable, but if they don't pay the buyer's broker, that they might reduce the price of their house.
Oh,
I highly doubt that's going to happen
yeah.
because everyone's greedy.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody thinks that their house is the best,
Oh, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
I'm right there with you. I want my house to be worth the most, and this and this. I get it.
Well, that's when you as a listing agent, kind of talk them down from that pedestal, or tell them, okay, well, I'm not talking you down, so let's go ahead and list it for what you want, and
Correct.
we'll let it sit for a year, and then we'll bring it down.
Yeah.
And I'll charge you more commission.
I mean, like I said, it's one of those things where once you list it, if it is in the average price of the property that's selling in that,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is like, let's say County Ventura, the average sales price is like $800, right?
Right.
And you're in like a standard average neighborhood, right? You're gonna know pretty quickly within the first couple of weeks. If you don't get any offers and no showings,
Yeah, it's too high.
you're too high.
The market will set the
Right,
price.
but it's also different too. If you're listing something for $2-3 million, your buyer pool goes way down.
Yeah.
So it's hard to use that same thought process.
Well, I imagine
when you're doing that.
the higher end listings, it's a different way of selling them, I would imagine.
Yeah, the clientele is different, but honestly, the paperwork is the same. Everyone. Listen, I have some pretty clients that are pretty wealthy, and we're all the same. We all eat. We all got to go to the bathroom, right? It is what it is. And
Now, wait a minute. Does it stink when they leave the bathroom? Or
everybody should stink.
everybody should- okay, just making sure.
Exactly. So,
Do you still think that real estate is a good investment, and you think that's gonna stay there like that for a long time, or you think?
yeah, I think so, especially with the amount of production. I mean, in Ventura County, let's say Oxnard, Ventura, Camarillo, where are they building new houses?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw there's a lot of movement
not.
going around.
I mean, there's not. You have a couple off of Springville and Camarillo. Then you
Yeah.
have in Ventura a couple of places. Oxnard, I think you may have a couple, but nothing that it was.
Do you
years
think that's
prior.
because of the regulations to build them, or do you think that's because of the construction materials not being affordable or feasible? What do you think?
I
it's
think
causing
both
that?
of those, and also the cost to acquire the loan, right? Because if
you're right.
your interest rate's 9% to borrow the money,
Yeah.
that means you have to profit more on the houses. California is very difficult permitting process. You have city ordinance, county ordinance. You have permitting process. It takes a lot of time.
Oh, Malibu especially. Malibu, all those places.
Yeah, I don't work in Malibu really. So
I remember. You actually, I have to tell you something about that permitting process. When we bought the house where we live here now, and I wanted to build a shop in the back.
Mm-hmm.
That whole process from me talking to my contractor and saying, "Hey, I want to build this shop. How much can you build it for?" He gave me the price. I said, "Yeah, go ahead and go for it." Once I gave him the go ahead, like 8 months later, my shop was built, completed, and done.
Oh wow!
So he did the blueprints. He submitted them to the county.
What year was
Got
this?
them approved. 2019, 2018, 2018. I'm sorry. Yeah, 2018, 2019.
Yeah,
Before COVID.
Yeah, but I also think then a lot of people weren't adding on right now because everyone has such low interest rates.
Yeah.
What's very, very big is ADU building,
Yeah.
garage conversion, or putting an additional ADU in the backyard of the property, just because the property prices are so high, right? If you have a 750 square foot unit, costs you $150,000 to $200,000 to build it,
Yeah.
and it rents out for $2,400, $2,600. You can't get that return on any real estate out here at all,
Right.
because it's so expensive.
So it's a good investment.
Yeah, I mean
now.
it is, but I think my point as far as your permitting process and all of that right now, it takes a lot longer.
I was going to finish my point.
Sorry.
So after I did the shop, then we talked about adding to the house. Little Munchkin was running around and said we need another room so that we can move out and get a nice master bedroom built in our house. So we went through that process. I called my same contractor, same people, same employees that he had.
Right.
So this is what we want to do. He goes, "Okay, Alex, it's going to take a while." I go, "What do you mean? It took you like 6 months to build my shop. This is just, adding a faucet and some more electrical for lights." He goes, "Yeah, well, we'll see." He built the plans. Like 2 weeks later, he submitted the plans. We approved them, me and my wife. And so he submitted them to the county. 2.5 years later, still couldn't get started.
There you go.
So the whole process went to hit a brick wall where you couldn't get anything approved, nothing looked at.
What year was that then?
That was 2021. It was right after COVID.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what happened then is they were not having a lot of people work in city, county, and all of that.
Yeah,
and
and we had to go through the county of Ventura.
Right.
So that was really
county.
really bad because I would sometimes go over there just to see what was going on with the permitting process, and they would be closed. So they wouldn't even let me in.
Yeah.
And I would go in, and some of the offices were closed.
Exactly.
Like building and safety was closed, but this
Planning was open.
Planning was open.
Right.
It was hit and miss.
Yeah.
And then I'd go to talk to somebody. They would bring up my address and bring, "Oh yeah, this is in the process." Blah blah blah. I'd go next week. Somebody else is there.
Yes.
And then I have to start all over again.
Yeah, you have to explain the same thing over and over again. And there's so many different, you have planning, then you have, building and safety, then you have the inspector, and everybody has their own thing. And anytime there's a problem, they're just like, "Oh, not my problem. That's over here. Go over there." Yeah. And it's like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks later. But from what I've heard recently is County Ventura is actually not the most difficult. Ventura right now, if you were to build something from scratch, is probably about 6 to 8 months for approval process. Same thing.
That's way better than what I had to go through for the room addition that we had at our house.
Is probably about 6 months, depending on and all of that.
Camarillo's really quick though.
Yeah, Camarillo. Yeah, exactly.
They're move like that.
Yeah, from what I've heard, if you want to do an AD or anything like that, it's like 30 days.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know, maybe staffing or maybe it's a smaller place.
I know that
not as complicated.
The local cities here, they don't have the amount of employees to process all of the ADUs, additions, etc. So they are hiring out, and a lot of it goes up north. So and it's you're in line, you're in queue. And they send it off, and whenever that person gets to it and sends it back, then here you go. Yeah. And then you have to go back and forth when it's like, they say this, and this, and you're like, well, no, I don't need X, Y, and Z because it's not, this isn't a two source. Why would I need this?
Yeah, we got my contractor got some of that too.
There you go.
Because he told me about a phone call he got that somebody from the LA County was calling him about the plans that he submitted here in Ventura County, and they were asking him about the mountain that was right next to my house.
So there you go.
There's no freaking mountains here. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's hard because they don't live in the area.
Yeah.
Even though, and it's, from what I've heard, a lot of it is open to interpretation as well. Well, a lot of the guidelines and laws when you're building. So
Yeah.
I mean, they can be a stickler, or they can be like, okay, no, this is fine as long as it's X, Y, and Z. Then you're good to go. So I think it depends on.
Depends on the human.
Yeah.
Because humans, we're all different, Some of them are pretty easygoing. Some of them are, assholes.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think for building and all of that, you definitely have a certain criteria, like California. Like it has to, have to have, your framing, your insulation. Now you have to have the heat, of course, and you have the electrical panel and stuff like that. But it is constantly changing, especially with the ADUs too, because those are becoming so prevalent.
And how long ago did they start allowing you to transform your garage or your shop into an ADU?
I think that was about a year and a half ago.
Yeah, that's something recent, right? They weren't letting you do that before.
Yeah, that came down at the state level. So
there was a shortage of housing, so they said, we got to allow people to do this.
You're allowed to convert your garage into a livable dwelling.
Yeah.
However, there are criteria that has to be met, right? As far as, especially where we're at, we're all in like a flood zone.
Yeah.
So there's a flood map, and if your base floor isn't a certain height, right, then it may not be possible because.
Also, some of the garages before, they used to build them without a vapor barrier in the bottom of it. So
a lot of the times you have to jackhammer it out and then put your vapor barrier down, your pebbles, re-pour it. But then my point is that if you don't have the minimum height requirement that they want, it may not work at all because your ceilings have to be a certain height as well. So if you have to build up your floor and then your ceiling height isn't there, then you have to change your roof line.
Oh man!
Then who's going to do that? Right? I mean, might as well add on or knock the whole thing down. So in some areas it works out, in other areas, it doesn't. Obviously, if you're building from scratch, then you're going to meet that certain criteria.
Yeah, you just build the plans according to what the specs are.
Correct.
But if you're trying to convert something that's already there, so you have to make the decision that you're going to do it, and then get somebody there to make you some plans, and then have them submit it.
Yeah. I mean, I've had experience recently in Ventura where you're going to go do the garage doors for me.
Yeah.
That permitting process was brutal. I mean, they had all the information. It'd be like 2-3 weeks before they get back. And the crazy part is this, right? So I get the measurements for all the windows, bought them from Milgard contractor, purchased them, filled out all the information. You have to meet certain criteria, whether it opens left to right or up and down for the firefighters' egress and coming in and out, right? Because they have to fit through the window with the tank on, essentially.
Right.
It's supposed to be wide enough for them to go in. So we submitted all the paperwork.
And also the height, they have to be able to.
Yeah, correct. It has to be a certain level off the ground, as well. If you do retrofits, which is taking out your old windows and putting new windows in, it's different. But this one, I had to get all new windows, so I had to meet today's code.
Yeah.
So filled out everything sent in, order the windows. That whole process was, the windows manufacturing was about a month process. Wow. And that holds up your whole project too.
Sounds like a little bit more expensive too, because now it's custom sizes.
Yeah, all of them they're going to be custom. It's very rare that you're going to find a window that fits your exact opening, unless it's almost a brand new build.
Yeah.
A lot of the older homes, you're not going to find, those windows. But my point is it went through planning, went through building and safety. They okayed it, right? I buy them. They all come in, and in every bedroom has to have a certain width to the opening.
Wow.
And the inspector comes in. Inspector says, nice guy. He goes, well, this isn't going to make it. I'm like, what do you mean? You guys approved it. He goes, basically, I don't care.
Yeah.
This doesn't fit, so I'm not going. It's not the correct width, so I'm not going to approve it. So then it was resubmitted again, waiting another 2 weeks for the windows to come in.
What happened to the windows they sent you?
No, it was all right. It was the correct dimensions. They even approved it.
Also, it's just
planning approved it.
So it's this inspector that was trying to pull his weight around.
I mean, it should have been caught at the planning level, probably.
Yeah.
Right? Even though they approved it. So I wasn't too happy about that because they approved it. But I also get that they're not going to take the liability on that front too.
Right.
Right. So they're like, we messed up. Oh, well. Yeah. So it was another 2-week delay for the window to come in, and then after that I had to get it inspected, and then after that on that project I did all new stucco and so on and so forth. But I mean the delay was brutal. It was over a month just waiting to hear.
We did the same thing in our room addition. We had an issue where they approved the plans and builder started building it. When we got the inspection to do it, it was a little bit off, and so they had to resubmit a new set of plans to fix that according to what they had already approved. And it took like 2.5 months to get the workers back in the house working.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I'm pulling my hair, just yelling at my contractor, poor guy. Frank, I'm sorry, Frank. Sorry about that. We love you, man.
Especially if you have to live through it. Luckily, it was vacant, so I'm not like living through it. But if you have to live through construction and your house is all torn apart and all that, it's not fun.
Well, it's okay if you see something getting done every day.
Yeah.
But if you come home and it's been like that for a month and a half, 2 months, it's frustrating. It's frustrating because when the hell is this going to get finished? We need the living space. We need to have the house functioning. So it's a little bit of a headache. Do you think is there a bad time to buy houses?
There's a saying: the best the best time to buy a house was yesterday.
Okay.
So there is a saying. I honestly thought in the last couple of years during COVID, I'm like, there was 20 offers on it. People were removing all of their contingencies, no inspection, have my firstborn child, like crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, this can't end up good. And then here we are, and the prices continue to go higher and higher and higher. And is it because there's no inventory?
For a couple of months, a year, or 6-7 months, I noticed that people were listing their houses for $600,000, and they would be selling them for $675,000, $700,000, above asking price.
Yeah,
and they would have 4 or 5 different offers, all offering a little bit more than the asking price.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen something that went around $1 million for 1.2,
Holy
$200K
crap.
Over ask,
That's
and it closed, and
that's a 20% increase in the price.
Yeah, people wanted it,
Wow.
and no appraisal contingency. So I mean, even if it comes in at $1 million, that means that they're going to pay the extra $200K out of pocket.
Well, they have to, because the bank's not going to approve it for more than what it's worth. And if they appraise it at $1 million, they're not going to say, "Oh, here's another $200,000." Banks are not stupid.
But if the contract's black and white and it says 1.2, and I'm going to pay the difference, and you're paying the difference. I mean, that didn't happen on that specific property, but it's crazy how the prices just continue to jump and jump and jump, and they're continuing to go up.
Yeah.
So it's
they're not that crazy still, are they?
No.
People are setting the price, and they're pretty much getting that price still, or are people having to get lower offers right now?
It depends. Like I said, if you have, if you're sitting in a neighborhood of like 400 houses and you have 10 of them for sale in that neighborhood, then you have a lot of competition. But if you're got 400 houses in a neighborhood and you only have one, then most likely going to sell for higher.
Yeah.
So it kind of dependent. Also depends on the condition of the property, and also depends. There's many factors. Also depends too on what the interest rates are doing. Because right now, generally interest rates do not jump. They do not, go up and down so violently as they are right now. One day it could be 6.5, and next day it could be 7.5.
Yeah.
So it also will play into what a property is going to sell for, because essentially the buyer's buying power will go down if interest rates go up.
Yeah. Did a lot of people now, especially the younger generation, I consider you the younger generation, and but I think you're more into the business, so you kind of know. Your dad probably told you. Interest rates before were in the 11%.
Yes.
And right now people are crying because it's 7%.
Yeah, I think my dad told me when he bought in the 80s, he was like paying like 18% at one point.
Well, our first place that we bought to live in, it was a mobile home, because we just married, we didn't have a ton of money, and we couldn't afford a home. So our loan was at 17%.
Yeah.
For the mobile home that we bought.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about, and I'm not going to say that it's harder now, but I think there's some data out there that talked about what the household income was compared to the home prices.
Like a ratio?
Yeah, exactly.
What percentage?
And right now it's a lot higher. I think it was like 2.5 or 3 years of your total household income, and now it's like, I think when it's like 7 or something like that, way, way, way higher. So it's a lot more difficult. And I don't really have those numbers set in stone, so I don't know if it actually is more difficult. But
it probably is. But you can say that because houses are bigger and more high tech now, so they take a little bit more time and effort and energy to build compared to the houses before.
I mean,
But also with inflation and the way our economy has been separating the middle class, getting rid of it and getting more to the richer people and the poorer people, that has a lot to do with too. I mean, before, when your dad was growing up, when I was growing up, it wasn't uncommon to have a single person household working and,
Right.
and the family sustaining themselves,
Yeah.
sending a kid through college, having the barbecues once in a weekend, being able to go to the ball game once in a while. That was common.
yeah,
That was the norm.
Yeah, now
And
I need two people working
now
in
I
order
don't,
to
tell me
to
if this
qualify.
tell me if I'm bullshitting or not, but there's multifamily loans that they're offering now, or is that true, or is that just me making bullshit out of thin air?
No, I mean, the lender will always take as many people as they can on the hook, right? Because if you stop and you default, they can go after a lot more people.
So if two families want to get a mortgage together to buy this this home, the bank will sign them up. And
I'm not too well versed on that, but yes, I've seen recently in the last 2 years, probably I think it was 4 people on one loan.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was 4
That
total.
would be 2 couples.
Yeah, exactly. So whether it be 2 couples or parents and then kids,
Yeah.
something like that, and they're qualifying that way. I haven't ran into anything more than that, but yeah, there was one that was 4. But like I said, the banks will take as many people as they possibly can and put them on the hook for the money that's owed.
Yeah, well, I think right now, if you have a successful business that's been running for 5, 10, 15 years, you are able to afford a home with that income, But families that work for a living, like a teacher, even a nurse or a professional, I don't see how they can afford buying a house without having 2 income levels coming in.
Yeah, no, it's difficult. It really is. I mean, it's one of those things where if you have a high-paying job and one person has a high-paying job and the other one doesn't, stays at home, then you might be okay. But if you're struggling and you have not high of income for 2 people, it's going to be a lot harder. But I think that also goes back from back in the day as well, right? If you're flipping burgers, chances are you're probably not going to be able to buy a house back then. It's the same thing now.
No,
right?
it's not the same thing because
You think so?
no, it's not the same thing because flipping burgers, you were never able to afford a house.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But 2 teachers could afford a house.
Oh, okay.
Like the man is a teacher and the woman's a teacher, they can afford a house.
Yeah, I think
Now-
our teachers are grossly underpaid.
I don't know if they can do that now.
Yeah.
Or pick 2 professions, a teacher and a nurse. If that's the family unit, it's hard for them to purchase a house right now. Because what is a normal down payment for a house?
I mean, anywhere from 3.5 to 20% down to more. So it just depends on where you are in life and all of that. But
Is there also? I'm not sorry to cut you off,
No, you're
but
fine.
when I purchased my first home with my wife, we applied for, I believe it was an FHA loan.
yeah, 3.5% down.
Yeah, but actually, they actually financed the down payment too.
Yeah, there's a bunch of
So
programs.
we bought our house without any down payment.
Yeah, exactly. There's a bunch of programs out there, and then on the teacher front, I believe we did one deal where the buyer who was a teacher, they gifted them the down payment. I think it was like 20%.
Wow.
And at the end, if they were ever to sell it or something like that, then they would have to give 20% of the value of the property back to this organization. So even if it appreciated
it's like-
400%, they have to give 20% back.
It's like an investment,
Yeah, exactly.
but it's
for
not
them.
it's not a cash a value of the dollars. It's a value of the percentage of the
Correct.
value of the home.
Yeah, it's present. And then obviously with inflation, if we continue to have that, it's very interesting. I was talking to my dad about this a couple days ago. I think prior to 2010, maybe it's just when I noticed it because I'm not that old, but I think prior to that, the government and also monetary policy valued people saving their money.
Yeah.
And recently, with all of the stimulus money, all the PPP, et cetera, the inflation, and they're injecting all this money into the system, they don't, if you have cash, it's just devaluing.
Yeah.
So all these asset prices, skyrocket as we see these, the housing prices. I mean, you saw, people driving and paying $50,000, $100,000 over for, a G-Wagon.
Yeah.
Like money was just no issue, and they injected so much money that all these asset prices just skyrocketed.
Well, you saw it in in the savings accounts that people had in their for the national average, it went up a lot when the savings accounts. And so if you pump all this money into the economy and you stop producing because everybody can't go to work, then you have that's
you saw the same consumption.
That's inflation.
Yeah,
that's inflation.
You have the consumption, right?
Yeah. So you either too much money for too little goods. That's the definition for inflation. And
yeah,
that's what
exactly.
We're seeing now.
We didn't have the inventory for the amount of goods that people were buying. But at the same time, too, I mean, with all the PPP and everyone got stimmy checks and this and that.
Well, yeah, that's funny money that the government just printed out. I mean,
and
they weren't producing any more product to sell so they can give us money. No, they just made the money and flushed the system with more money in it, so that it caused the inflation.
Yeah, I mean, right now I think we're pretty much on consumption. Industrial revolution, we were producing.
Yeah.
Right. So right now, where it's all about how much we can spend to keep the economy running.
Well, the one thing that saved the economy last year, I believe, and I'm not an expert, I'm just talking out of my ass.
Of course, yeah, we're both.
It's called the people talking, so we can talk shit. One thing that I think happened was that all the money that people spend from being locked up in their homes, not being able to spend the money, kind of propped up the economy to where it was a good economy. But now I think people are running out of that money. So savings accounts right now are low.
They're dwindling, yeah.
People are going more towards credit. And so there's going to be a point where
eventually it's going to hit the fan. It's just how bad is it going to get? And then also, is the Fed going to step in and just inject more money?
Well, the Fed's in a freaking in a corner right now. He can't really do anything about it. I mean, it's an election year. I know the Fed's supposed to be independent from the government, but it's not. They're all in there. But it's if the Biden administration stays or if the Trump administration comes in, it's going to be bad no matter what, because after the election happens, no matter who wins,
correct,
then
it's going to be a hard
reality
years.
Has to hit.
Exactly.
And so we're going to have a little bit of a regrouping, and then hopefully people are prepared for it and they don't suffer too much.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I believe that for every time the Fed increases the interest rate, you don't see that effect for, I think it's about 12 months.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're just starting to really see, I mean, you go to the collection on the weekend, it's packed out.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time seeing where it's slowing down. People start driving all these brand new cars and this and that. So it's like, how long is these high interest rates going long, or how long is it going to take to restrict the economy for it to actually slow down?
Yeah.
And I don't hope for anyone's demise or anything like that, for them to lose their job. But the only way to get inflation down, I mean, is to really stop the spending.
Yeah. One way I notice it in my industry, my business, is you see like a ratio of the money coming into the business. You ratio the purchase of complete systems, like a garage door with the unit opener, versus the repair part.
Right, the springs or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So on a good economy, the 60% of the business does new construction and new garage doors and new openers, and like 40% repairs. Right now, we're seeing 60% of the income coming in is repairs.
Wow.
And 40% is the new garage doors.
So there you go.
So people are, when it's a good economy, something breaks on their garage door, it's a good time to purchase a new garage door. When it's a bad economy, something breaks in the garage door, fix it so I can have a working garage door. So you see a thing like that. And right now we're about 60-40 with repairs versus new garage doors. Okay. So I see the economy kind of slowing down. And so, but like I said, it's an election year, and hopefully whoever, stays in power in the next election, I think that's when the economy is really going to show its true face, and what's really going to happen is going to happen.
Yeah, eventually it's going to come. And like I said, it's just a matter of, is the Fed going to inject money after that and just try to pull us back out? And then are we going to go into, higher inflation, or is the Fed going to cut? And then that can cause inflation to go back up.
Yeah.
But,
well, they're talking about inflation going down right now. Well, it's not the inflation going down. It's just the rate of increase is going down.
Yeah.
So instead of going at 9%, 6%.
About 4.
It's at 4, maybe 3.
Yeah, 3.
But
Yeah,
it's still going
30s.
higher than it was before. So
Yeah.
then the inflation hasn't dropped. It's just the rate of inflation has dropped.
Exactly.
So they use funny words.
I mean, yeah, it's also very interesting, dude, that they would use, let's just say steak for an example, and this isn't, accurate, but they would, use steak inflation back in 1980, and now they're like, oh, people don't eat steak, so we don't,
Right.
so we don't count that.
We put hamburger instead of steak.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. It's like what, so it's one of those things, and also,
Or we're gonna pull gasoline from the basket for to measure inflation.
yeah, there you go.
They
So, I
pulled
mean,
that too.
Yeah, they do, their little things here and there, and some of it might be, they need to pull it, and other things it's like questionable.
Yeah,
it's like why would you do that?
They do the funny business, They and all politicians do that, on the right and on the left. They all do it. They want to get reelected, so they try to put their best face forward.
Yeah.
And so they cheat and lie with the numbers all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and then talking about the amount of credit card debt and all of that, I think moving forward for people, it's credit card debt and then also car. I think I read where the average car payment per month is around $750 a month.
Wow.
So if you have 2, it's $1,500.
$750?
And then as everyone knows, the insurances are going up.
That's
right?
$1,000.
Gas is going up. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, you're probably around $1,200, for gas, insurance, your car note. And then if you have 2 of them,
That is crazy.
$2,000 to $2,500 a month just in car payments.
That's crazy.
So you got to be careful going into a slower economy. And this is also a trickle-down effect, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you see it in your business, I will see it in mine, but it goes from the top to the bottom and vice versa. It'll go any which way. Everybody will slow down. If you don't see it, and if it is happening, eventually it will come to whatever profession you are, unless you're in some type of surgeon or something like that. Chances are you're probably going to be,
You're probably going to increase because more people are going to get sick.
Yeah, so so it's one of those things. But for the average person, if you're working on a normal job, a trickle down effect, it will eventually come to you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I could not believe that the 750. I was like, and this is the average, right? It's not even saying like for a Lamborghini it's 750.
No, that's like a little Prius or whatever, a Toyota or something that you buy to get to and from work.
Yeah,
and that's crazy. I don't know how people are doing it right now.
No, I know.
Especially people that have a fixed income. Retired people, how are they doing it? Hopefully they invested their money well and their stocks grow with a bad economy, and then their inflation helps their stocks go up. So hopefully that's what people plan and are doing.
The asset price of your property also go up too. But at the same time, people that are retired, generally, if you're living off of Social Security and your property taxes jump and also your insurance jump, I mean, it eats right into your money. So it's kind of scary if this continues to go, where it will end up. Will these people who are on Social Security, will they have to sell? Yeah. Because they can no longer just afford it.
Right.
So it's it's one of those things to keep an eye out on too. Pretty crazy.
It's kind of scary times, but on a down economy, which hopefully it doesn't happen too bad, but if it does happen, it's just a good opportunity to pick up good deals.
Yeah.
So start making your nest egg right now. If you have a little bit of extra income, put it away and wait for the opportunity to jump on either like your industry, the real estate. Always nice to buy property, either a piece of land or a house or an apartment or an apartment complex, or if you want to just invest in the stocks when they go on sale.
Yeah,
because that will happen on the correction.
Yeah, exactly. I think I heard somebody say, you invest when everybody's scared.
Yeah.
And then when everyone's talking about it, you sell.
Right.
Because if the news has it and all of that, it's like, okay, well, it's probably the peak here, so maybe I want to sell and get out. But if everyone's scared, then you probably want to buy, and that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah,
you're right. Because if everyone is scared and you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to buy this thing, whatever it may be, I mean, it's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
But I get a lot of people ask me questions all the time about X, Y, and Z, and should I invest in this and that, and I tell a lot of people too. Depending on what your hobby is and a down market, whatever the case is, you have to invest in what as well. But whether it be action figures, whether it be playing cards or whatever it is, if you know that market, you're able to make money.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I saw this on I don't know if you go on X, the Twitter or social media and stuff, but I saw this meme that really pictured it really nice. The way that it said it. It had a Starbucks cup of coffee on one side and the Starbucks cup of coffee on the other side, and it's like A and B. And it said person A buys a cup of coffee every day for $4, and in 20 years it's going to spend like $20,000, and it's going to be caffeinated and full of energy. Person B is investing those $4 into Starbucks stocks, and at the end of the year he's going to have $300,000 in his account, and maybe he doesn't have the caffeine, but he has $300,000 in his account. So it goes back to what you were saying.
Right.
A lot of times it's taking the initiative to invest and put your money where it's going to grow.
Yeah, and I think we're both saying here that it doesn't. Yeah. We're not saying don't drink coffee.
No, drink coffee.
Don't eat your avocado toast, or else you're not going to make the money.
Do both.
Yeah. I mean, in moderation, right? Every other day or whatever the case may be. But you have a point with the compound interest, and on top of that, also goes with the inflation. If you have high inflation, then stock prices and stuff like that, they all go up, and so it's one of those things. Like I said, you're kind of not rewarded really anymore to save your money. Now, of course, to buy certain items, and I'm not sure if you really even come across this, and you can kind of tell me, I mean, in your market, if you see a garage door like you just installed, someone's just like, I don't want this garage door anymore, will you be like, I'll take it and then resell it?
Yeah, no, we can't do that.
No?
Because every time you install a door, and it gets damaged.
Oh, okay.
It's such a big piece of metal, it's hard to carefully do it, and it doesn't make any sense.
What about the motor?
Motor's not even that, because we don't know what they did to it as far as working it, if they overstressed it or something.
Okay.
It's always better just to get new materials.
Okay.
Once in a while you do get that person that's maybe doesn't have the resources. Like if I go to your house, mm-hmm. and you're just a teacher and you're on a fixed income and everything's piling up on you. And you can't afford a $800 garage door opener, $900 garage door opener, but you need to have your door fixed, and your opener's broken and stuff. I might have something that I pulled it from another job that's has a battery backup, which is required here in California,
right? And
I can refurbish it and then sell it to you just basically for my cost of installing it.
Right. That's what I'm essentially saying. You're taking equipment from another job that's basically brand new and then reinstalling.
That's for a special application for a customer that I see that needs the extra help.
Gotcha.
It's not a norm. It's not. I don't go out there and say, "Oh, I got some used openers that I can sell you," because that doesn't work very well.
Yeah, it's kind of you're talking to your client, and if they are saying like, "Was there anything cheaper?" then you might have that avenue. Of being able to.
And I kind of gauge the customer. If I really see that he's trying to be a cheapskate, I say, "No, I don't have anything cheaper. Just go, buy from somebody else cheaper, whatever."
Yeah.
But if it's something that I see that actually needs the help,
right?
Then I try to go out of my way to kind of help them out. It's good. Good mojo,
I think everybody eventually in business, you have to decide at a certain point, like whether this job is actually worth it or not. And being in the industry, whatever you do for so long, you're able to kind of make that judgment call.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, even for me, I've had in the past year probably 3 to 5 people who have contacted me for property management. And they want me to do X, Y, and Z. Or I had this crazy one more time where this owner of a property wanted me to hire a cleaning person to go in every month because they wanted to spy on the tenant.
Wow.
And I'm like, absolutely. There's no way. Like, you manage it yourself. Have fun. Like, that's just, no. Like, there's no way. So
that's crazy.
And then other people, like, they want you to refurbish or remodel their entire house for a management fee.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's no way. Managing a property is, finding the renter, doing maintenance, doing the contract, collecting and dispersing rent. It's not going in there and hiring a contractor to redo your kitchen, your shower, your flooring, your X, Y, and Z. It would take me months, if not years. I mean, it would definitely take me years to recuperate that money. So, we're at a point now where I'm kind of able to make that judgment call, and the same thing for you, right? If you go somewhere,
it's a salesman's thing to lower expectations and ground your customer. If somebody comes into me and says, "Oh, Alex, I want to buy a garage door that has windows in all of them. I want the nice fancy ones that I've seen near the beach."
That's me.
And I want to spend $200.
That's me.
Okay, that's nice that you want that, but it ain't gonna happen. But here's something else that I can offer you that looks pretty cool, and it's in your budget.
You actually did that with me with the other property I live at now. I like the aluminum black doors, the black glass. And
exactly. So
like those are like $5,000, and I'm just like,
you're managing expectations. You try to get something that fits your customer's budget. Same thing with you.
Yes.
You work out a plan that fits with that rental property. Maybe you don't charge them the high rate that you do for a property that you do manage 100% of all the things that go wrong, but maybe you can manage 25% of it.
Yeah.
And say, we can do it for a less fee, and you handle the rest.
Yeah.
If something happens, you do that, and I'll do this.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard in that aspect because with managing the property, you have to make sure that all the health and safety items, are completed. So even if I were to example, only collect and distribute rents and just do the contract and the owner wanted to do maintenance.
Yeah.
Right. If the owner, did something wrong or illegal, or I've seen it before where someone put a water line right next to an electrical panel, like 2 inches away.
Oh my goodness.
And it's like, why would you ever, like, one pinhole leak and that thing is on fire?
Was it MacGyver?
I don't know who did it or what they were thinking.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I know what they were thinking. This was the easiest way to get this job done and get in and get out.
Yeah.
Right. And I highly, highly, highly doubt that person was a licensed plumber who put that, water line in. Yeah. But this is a prime example. And then two, you get the people who, I have my carpet person. No, I have X, Y, and Z.
My uncle does that, or my cousin does that. And I'll have him do it.
Oh, and I mean, not even that. I was like, I know somebody, and then the time it takes to actually complete the job is like 2 times as long.
Yeah.
It's like if you would have paid somebody $300-$400 more and got it done faster, you would have made the money because you would have rented out the property quicker.
And it would have been done right.
Yeah, it'd have been done right, and
with
also
the warranty and everything else.
There you go.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Robert, I want to appreciate you for coming down and spending some time and having this conversation. Hopefully people will take something out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I took something out of it. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too. I appreciate you having me on.
Cheers,
buddy. And I think you did an absolutely amazing job with this. It looks beautiful, and
appreciate it.
Yeah, and you can tell when I have friends that try to do YouTube, and you can tell when people are really into it they try to make that dollar. Yeah. And you're the complete opposite.
Oh, no. The reason I'm doing this is to grow my inner person, to learn new things. Like with you today, I learned a lot of new stuff. Yeah. And all my previous guests that I've had are always learning new things. So
yeah, it's a passion. And I think, one of those things, eventually, if you love doing it, you will succeed.
Absolutely.
Right. Whether it be 2 months from now or a year from now. But I can genuinely tell that you are, you would like to talk to people and want to do this, and it's not for the money. So
yeah, and if it doesn't succeed, I still have the conversations that I've had with everybody.
Exactly.
So that's always fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing the beer.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
This is good stuff. So this won't be the only time you come as my guest. I'm sure I'm going to invite you different times, and we can still talk business, or we can talk
whatever, whatever it may be.
Thanks for coming by.
Thanks, man.